What's up, folks? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Off the Record. You know about Off the Record. I talk to you about them constantly, but it's working because every single week I get a DM, an email, a comment from somebody who uses Off the Record who shaved their backsides. You know what they do. I talk about it all the time. Off the Record is here to help you get out of those bullshit tickets. Right? You get pulled over, right? You get written a ticket for something. Maybe you didn't even do it. Maybe you did do it, but they didn't really see you do it. Did they? And if they didn't see it, it doesn't really count. Most importantly, you get those points off your record. Off the Record will set you up with a qualified attorney in the jurisdiction where you got pulled over. Fight that ticket on your behalf. You don't have to go to court. You don't have to do anything besides send a scan or a photograph of the ticket itself to Off the Record, pay a small fee for their services, and then you are good. They'll get those points off your record. Their success rate is amazing, and if you don't get the points off your record, money back guarantee. True story is actually my personal trainer was really having some trouble getting car insurance because of points on his record. And in fact, a lot of those cases were closed, and he called Off the Record. They were able to reopen a closed case and get him some traffic school to help get those points off his record, even though the case was closed. And so because of that, he was able to get car insurance at a much more reasonable price. The insurance company was going to rake him over the coals because of the points, but Off the Record fixed that. It was all you got to do is go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TST10 on the Off the Record app. Super easy. That'll get you 10% off all your services from Off the Record. They also big, I'm going to sell myself an ad right now. Westside Collector Car Storage now with 2 convenient locations in the LA area, Playa Vista and South Bay. We've had a waiting list at Playa Vista for almost 8 months now. But we've opened our second facility. Some of our clients have moved down to South Bay, opening up spaces in both facilities, South Bay and Playa Vista. If you want to learn more, if you're in LA and you want to collect cars, but you don't have anywhere to keep them, if you inherit a car, buy a new car, you're going out of town for an extended period of time, you want someone to take care of your car, Westside Collector Car Storage is here for you. WCCS.com is where you learn all about it. Also, for you TST fans, if you're in town coming to LA and you want to get a private tour of Westside Collector Car Storage, just go to WCCS.com, fill out the Contact Us form on the website, and we can arrange that. Westside Collector Car Storage is open 7 days a week and available for tours by appointment. All right, folks, it's a crew show. Zach and I are in the studio. Zach has removed his mask because he's not contagious anymore. I just went out to collect my Ferrari from its annual service and learned some things about the insides of my Lamborghini motor. We talk further about the Spyder RS and the Lotus Emira Turbo. We answer a whole lot of questions. I've got new tires on my electric Ford Mach-E, and I have some news about the watch. It's a crew show. The Smoking Tire Podcast is here. Let's go. It was a blessing in disguise because I could call Haggerty and have them flatbed the car to Donnie, and that was one less trip. Mm-hmm. It was a good excuse. Otherwise, I'd planned to drive it up there for the servicio. So while it was there, he fixed that, and then he did the full annual service, which is like a full fluid flush and whatever. And on top of that, my exhaust manifold, also known as a header, had a small crack in it, which we could hear. We knew was there, but it was like one of those things that he just like didn't get around to. It didn't really affect the car that much. It just made the exhaust like a little louder than it should have been. So he fixed that too, which was
like weld it, or
they took the header out. They had it welded up properly, sealed properly, and then they ground down the part that fits flush against the engine, so it was made a good seal. And fucking thing is running so smooth now. I mean, not like it wasn't smooth before, but I didn't even know that there was a better, and there was a better. So it's even better.
Nice.
And then he started talking about he wanted to paint all the louvers on the car, and I said, stop, we're not doing this. I said, the car can't get...
Wait, what color are the louvers right now?
They're black, but they're like, it's the paint, or whatever paint is on there, it's like fading a little bit in certain places. And it's like a 5-foot car. And I was like, this car can't get too nice. It needs to be just not nice enough that I can just like not give a fuck. Mm-hmm. That's where, and he's like, no, but I want to do this and that. And I'm like, you need to stop.
He has so many projects there that he can do those things to, you know?
I know, but I think because a lot of people see this car, he wants it to be like good.
Oh, okay.
And he also just like doesn't like the car to not look great.
Right.
Like he wants it to be, you know, he's like, I drive some of these other 308s and 328s that need work, and then I drive your car and I see what the cars can be, and I get like excited and then sad that these other cars aren't like that, and I want to make all the cars really good. So then we looked at the inside of my, is the audio good now? Mm-hmm. We looked at the inside of my Lamborghini engine. Less good. I mean, nothing catastrophic, but like the rings are shot, you know, the cylinders. I don't know a lot about how the inside of engines are supposed to look. I don't take apart engines.
Yeah, I don't really
But
know
like
either.
the cylinders.
They should be nice and smooth.
Well, they were very shiny, like a mirror,
okay.
which is bad. That means something.
Okay.
They shouldn't be that shiny. So we have to like redo the cylinder, hone the cylinders. Yeah, like shit like that. But it'll never be cheaper to do those things than it is now that the engine is already out of the car.
Understand.
Yes. Yeah. And he, you know, it's just like little stuff, but it adds up. And he was like, this is why this car is not making as much power as it's supposed to because of shit like this.
Was it down on compression slightly?
No, it wasn't down on compression, but like considering it had a valve job, like not even 5,000 miles ago, the valves were like pretty gunked up.
Oh.
There's a lot of carbon buildup in the valves.
So there's like blow-by happening. Maybe.
There's something. Something's going on. And it needs to be done over. And like the valve job, I didn't pay for. It was part of the process when I bought the car. So like maybe they knew the car was going to a new owner, and it was like, you know, you can just get it back together and you know, get it on its way. Maybe it was I don't know, an issue that I don't know. Like this car had brand new valves put in it 5 years ago, and considering they're brand new, like there's lots of like meat on the valve, like they haven't been like cut multiple times, but like they're pretty gunky. There's pretty decent amount of carbon
on
in
the
there.
piston side or the other side?
On both sides.
The combustion chamber side.
On the chamber side, there was on one of the cylinder banks, the left cylinder bank, there was more carbon than the right cylinder bank, but there was gunked up on the back side of the valve as well. Yeah, the side where the stem is on. I don't know if that's the back or the front. I think it's the back, but
I think the back.
yeah, but
Weird.
like yeah, so like. But it's all apart now, so like here we go.
While you're in there,
just do everything.
you bore and stroke it, get a little more juice out of that thing.
I asked him that, and he goes, "Remember the plate? It's already stroked.
Oh yeah,
It's already bored and already stroked. That's the 5000S, the 5000 QV engine is the bored stroked one.
It's already stroked from factory, but could you bore it and put some bigger cans in there?
I don't think you want to do that.
You probably don't, but I'm just saying you could do it.
If you do a bore without a stroke, it doesn't really add that much.
True.
You know, it might add like I remember Larry Casilla on his Mustang did a bore on his block. Because when he bought his Mustang, the engine was super tired and it needed a rebuild anyway, and he bored it, and it went from 302 cubic inches to 306 cubic inches, which is like 4 cubic inches. Like it's not percentage-wise, and so you didn't get much from the bore. Mm-hmm. Whereas in my Mustang, because I watched him, I was like, you just had your whole engine apart for 4 cubic inches? Like, so I was like, well, if we're taking my engine apart, because everything I did on my Mustang, Larry did on his Mustang first, on his engine.
Right.
Like, so I was like, yeah, give me that. Same cam, same exhaust, same headers, same intake mat, like all that shit. But I was like, but if we're doing it in mine, I was like, I want more. So I did a 347 stroker crank. So I was like, if we're going to do it, so I got 45 cubic inches out of mine. Ye fucking ha. So anyway.
Yeah, that's a lot more significant.
Yeah, so now we're talking Lamborghinis, like, you know, for whatever.
You don't need to do it. It's just a fun thing to say when you have an engine
You know
apart.
what will give me good power in this car?
If the engine's back together.
Having it back together and not blowing by carbon. That would work.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know about the shiny cylinder thing. Maybe someone will comment, but you might be having blow-by on your rings, which is then going to gunk up all of your valves, which in there you're not going to have great burn and all this other stuff.
He said the rings are like a little, like, even though this car only has 21,000 miles on it, and that's all it's got, he's like, these rings are pretty shot. So,
I wonder how long is a post to last.
I can't imagine. It's the 20,000 miles is like, what kind of an engine is this?
It's like a Bugatti, but it's like a Bugatti Chiron or something. Or maybe like the Veyron was more expensive. You had to pull it apart. I don't know. I mean, it's a highly strung engine.
Whatever you buy today will last longer than that.
I think almost every car you buy today, the rings will last
I mean,
much longer
whatever I buy for this car,
right.
whatever the replacement rings are.
True, yeah.
That
maybe,
they are better than this.
I mean, there has been significant advancement in metal technology in the last 50, 40 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was by myself, so the video is a bit amateurish. You know, I'm filming fucking Donnie.
It's a vlog.
It is a vlog.
Did you bring us to your lunch spot before you went to the thing you're going to put in the video? That's important.
I didn't use the. It's fine, but it's a pretty low budget. But people want to see what the inside of the Lambo engine looks like, so I will show them. Big week this week for videos. Spyder RS Monday, Emira AMG Turbo Tuesday. Spyder RS a little more popular than the Emira. Which is sort of predictable, but the Emira V6 video did just as well as the GT4 RS videos did. So,
well, I think my guess is that Spyder RS was highly anticipated, and it is kind of a unique thing, and everyone's paying attention to it. And the Emira, same with the Emira V6.
Yeah.
If the turbo would come first, I think it would be the same thing.
Probably.
But it's like everyone's kind of got the gist, or they think they have the gist of the Emira, and it just doesn't look different enough.
Probably true. But still, things to talk about. What is that? Spyder RS is at 93K. It's doing okay. It's doing all right. It's a good video.
93 in a day is pretty good.
Zach spent a lot of time on that video, so I really...
Great color. Oh, my God. Because the other press car available was like asphalt gray.
Oh, the other Spyder RS?
Which does not pop out on video as much.
I asked for the good color with the good light, and they gave me the guards red. So that was... They actually did have some other good colors. They just didn't have beauty shots available of them. And because I was by myself on this launch, it was a lot of iPhone and Porsche factory B-roll. So they had a, not ultraviolet, but what's the other, Ruby Star. They had a Ruby Star. They had a white, which this car does not look good in white. It's not a great one. They had a yellow, which is pretty aggressive.
There's too much carbon on the car for white.
Right. There is, yeah. And it actually, you can, through Porsche Exclusive, get all the bare carbon painted. So on an individual basis. So you could do a full painted hood where you don't see the carbon. You could do painted side scoops. So you can actually knock some of that down, which in the right color could be really, really cool.
And then it's even more of a sleeper too.
Yeah.
I might paint the hood, but I like the carbon intakes on the side.
The carbon intakes are okay. I would definitely paint the hood. The hood is a bit much.
I just don't like broad racing stripes like that that are also that separated. Just it looks weird to me.
But if you watch the video, you'll know it sounds fucking crazy. It's just an insane sounding car. Totally different from my car. It's all intake and valve train noise and not really much exhaust.
Yeah, true.
Noise.
The drive-bys, it was mostly intake, but your car, exhaust.
My car's
is
all
like,
exhaust.
There's a boat sound, and there's a muscle car sound, and then there's like a Porsche race car sound.
And like a bit of like old warplane.
Little of that.
My car sounds like an old fucking P-51 Mustang.
From idle to 2,000 RPM.
Yeah. Whereas this doesn't sound like that. This sounds like it's just motorsport, which is a totally different character of an engine. But they executed really well. I mean, the most important thing about the Spyder RS is that, with the exception of not being manual, which is a bummer, the next best thing is that they took the GT4 RS and they actually softened the setup to make it better on the street. That's super important because it's a street-focused weekend sports car. You can take it to a track. It's got, rollover protection, and it would probably be fast on a track too. But it's set up for road driving, and it's actually the first ever RS product that is optimized for the road instead of the track, which is very interesting. The ST will be the next one.
I guess, yeah, that's true. Everything else is a race car.
Yeah, everything else is lap time. That's all it is, lap time. And Andy Preuninger said that they haven't even run one of these on the Nürburgring yet, so they don't know what it would run. I mean,
I guess they'd probably just develop it at their own test track, right, in Weissach?
They did some lapping it on their track, but he said it's almost all road driving.
Wow.
I mean, because they had the GT4 RS setup. So that was a complete car.
True.
So they just took that setup and optimized it for it has 50% softer springs. It has a recalibrated electric power steering system. The shocks are different. And so it's just more set up for the road. And then without the big wing, which was a good decision, with the ducktail and the shorter front lip, and it has an under tray that's flat, but it doesn't have those veins in it. The Venturi tunnels, like the GT4 RS has the tunnels cut in it for like maximum downforce. Like the goal for the aero package on this car is stability, not grip.
Stability as in straight line stability?
Yeah, as in the top speed of this car is done with the top down.
Okay.
So this car will do 193 miles an hour with the top down. In fact, if you put the top on, you're not supposed to go over 125, which is unique. Most cars with a removable roof, the top speed is with the top up.
Yeah.
So this car, because the roof is really like a temporary deal. Yeah, you're not actually supposed to go over $125 with the roof on. So they changed the aero package. This is faster at the top end than the GT4 RS. It's like 7 miles an hour faster because of the drag from the aero. So because they didn't care about lap times, less aero, but optimized for high-speed stability rather than downforce and grip in a corner.
Interesting. Okay, so the underbody doesn't suck it down as much.
It's just not as much of a suction, and it's more of like a stay straight.
That's a huge delta in top speed. Top up, top down. 50 miles. No, wait, sorry. 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, and like. They said what did they say was the limit? There was a limiting factor. Shit, what did Andy say? He said something about if you changed something minor, it would be good for over 200 miles an hour, and I forget what it was. Shit, I don't remember if it was the
front
tire.
Splitter?
I'll have to ask him when I see him at Pebble again. I'll see him on Friday at Pebble. I forget what he said. There's some little thing, small, and if you change this one little thing, it would be good for over 200. And I forget what it was.
Well, do you think the top speed was drag limited, or is it manufacturer limited, like programmed in?
Maybe it was drag limited, and they said that if you used a different top, the top from a Spyder or from my car or something, that it would go quicker. Or maybe he said if you put this aero package on a GT4 RS, that it would go that fast.
Oh, that would make sense. It's slightly less drag, but it's a hard top.
Yeah, something like that. But either way, I mean, look, 193 with the fucking top down is moving.
That's real fast.
That's
you don't need to
going.
break 201. You're there. You're basically there.
Yeah.
Especially with 500 horsepower. I mean, that's a lot, but it's not
Dude, these cars,
7, 8, 9.
Porsche, whether it's this car or the GT3 RS, or they regularly build cars that outperform their horsepower numbers by a lot. I mean, the Car and Driver tested the GT4 RS with 493 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.8. It's a rear-wheel drive car with under 500 horsepower in 2.8, and they did it in 2.7 in the GT3 RS.
What is a 720S run to 60? It's close to that.
It's like middle twos.
And that has 200
it might be
more horsepower.
It might be a tenth down, you know. If you put slicks on it, different story. But on a street tire, C8 Corvette Z51, I looked this up for my road and track story, is 2.9. So that's getting close. That's under 3 with 495 horsepower, which is fantastic. It's also got a boatload of torque. But the GT3 RS and GT4 RS are the quickest accelerating cars for their power figure across the board, which is, you know, they outperform. They're overachievers.
Yeah.
This car, I mean, this car, other than not being a stick, was perfect. And if you don't want a stick, then it's perfect. Like, even, you know, the top is a pain in the dick. I mean, once I was trained on it, I could do it in about 1 minute and 30.
How long does it take you to do your top? Because your top is also not a push button thing.
It's not that much less, honestly. Yeah. It's less like work, but it's not a lot less time.
Because your top, you don't have to take it out of a compartment, right? Like yours flips up and roll, and then you have to attach the things at the back. Whereas this is like you lift a piece completely out of the car, attach to windshield, unroll.
Yeah, that one is it's more work. Like the whole top comes out, and you could leave it on the ground if you wanted.
Right.
And you take it out of the back, you hook it under the binnacle. The binnacle's the top of the windshield, and it stays. It just stays there. And then you reach in and close a manual lever, like a Miata.
Yep.
And then you unroll across the roll hoops, right? And then and then there's a rod that goes across. It's like, 3 feet long. When you unroll, as you cross the roll hoops, there's 2 little holes, and the rod has 2 little pegs, and you put the rod in the holes.
That's why the roll hoop had that little square bit.
It's got the square
poked
bit
up against the top.
That collects the rod, and then once that's in there, there's a tension wire. So you then have to put the tension wire under the hook on both sides, and then pull a lever that's not very heavy. Anyone could do it, but you pull the lever to tighten the tension rod, and then you put the trailing straps. You put those in, and then you latch each one down.
And that's all the tension. Yeah, it's like a tent.
And that, by the way, does not make an airtight seal. That's the bimini top. But in between the tension rod, the tension wire, in between the tension wire and the other part, there's a secondary bit you can put in that will make it watertight.
It's like a fabric/plastic window that you put behind the roll bars.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can not use that if you just want to get it up quick. And actually, very interesting, if you put the bimini top up without the weatherproofing, it's louder inside.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Oh, louder than when there's no top. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then there's nowhere for the sound to escape to.
Yeah.
It must be. It's like the 812 when you roll down that little back window.
Right.
Yeah.
It's loud in there, which I thought was very interesting. Every sound is amplified with that top on. And we drove in the rain with that top on and with the windows down, and you stay pretty dry.
So a road trip in that would be. Do you want earplugs if you were doing like a 4-hour drive?
No,
okay.
It's fine. I mean, if you're below 4,000 RPM and you're at light throttle, like road car. I mean, great sounding road car. But if you fucking open the exhaust valve and put it in sport mode and start winding it out, it's loud. Guys, got to stop the action real quick for Factor. The busy fall season is just around the corner, and you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for those jam-packed days. Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, and they'll help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. I have this problem all the time. I forget to plan my meals, right? I don't leave the house in the morning knowing what I'm going to eat for lunch and when. I don't make enough time, and I don't make enough space in my life for it. And so what ends up happening? I end up having to order something. I end up having to pick up something on the fly, and it's not as healthy as it should be. It's not as delicious as it should be, and it makes me feel not great. Except when I have Factor here at the shop. When I've got Factor, a box of it in the fridge, I can refresh and keep those healthy habits without missing a beat. They've got 34 plus weekly flavor-packed, dietitian-approved meals ready to eat in the microwave, just 2 minutes. You've got the calorie-conscious meals. You've got the protein-plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. You've got the chef gourmet plus options, which are sort of upgraded ones, upscale meals with premium ingredients like broccolini, leeks, truffle butter, asparagus. They are great. Fresh, never frozen meals ready in just 2 minutes. And you can enjoy eating well this month without the hassle. Simply choose your meals via the website and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes with no prep and no mess. So head over to factormeals.com/tire50 and use code TIRE50 to get 50% off. That's code TIRE50 at factormeals.com/tire50 to get 50% off. Now back to the action. But it's great. That's what you're paying for. You're
Very
paying
true.
extra for that.
Yeah.
If you were gonna road trip a Spyder, mine's better. It's mine in quiet mode is really very, very, very quiet.
I mean, they truly offer every flavor of car. It's actually funny. BMW has decided to make a car for every single market, including ones they've created. But Porsche is making trims of a model, of fewer models, but they're making trims for every kind of person, which I like much more.
Right. There's a 911 that works for everybody,
and
there's a Boxster that works for everybody. If I didn't already have my car, would I want this one? Probably. Because it's fucking rad. But I also want to drive stick, so I don't feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah. I think the Spyder looks great, whereas this just looks aggressive because it's an RS.
Yeah.
They all look aggressive. There's a reason they look that way.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to besmirch the engineering behind it. But
they could have painted the carbon.
You could paint the carbon. You can option paint the carbon.
It looks aggressive intentionally. It's not like it's not for function, but they could have painted the carbon side scoops. They could have painted.
Well, but it also has canards on the side. It also has this front lip that yours doesn't have. The little
Mine does have the front lip.
The lower front lip. You do?
Yeah, that's the same lip as I have. The 4RS front lip is even bigger. It's a lot bigger.
Okay,
5 centimeters bigger.
One of our patrons said he did not have that front lip on his Spyder.
If it was a previous generation Spyder, it didn't.
Okay.
Mine does.
This is really new, but there's just more things on it. But that's how they advertise. One, make the performance, and two, advertise that this is an RS product and it's different from the other ones. I just think your car and any other car of your generation just looks smooth and classy and will always look pretty and is non-offensive.
Sure. Same with GT3 instead of GT3 RS.
Totally.
Especially current generation. It's just one is a little more subdued. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll make a Spyder ST that will then have this engine, but look like
this
your
one
car
is supposed to be the
with
end.
A manual.
This is the end. This is the last gas-powered Boxster, according to Andy, which would be very sad because it's the best sports car in the world.
Well, they're transitioning it to electric, right?
I know, something nobody asked for. And
on the other hand, if anyone at present can make a fun electric sports car, it's probably them.
I agree. The Taycan is the most fun EV on the market right now.
Right.
But and they'll probably, whatever they build will probably be as fun as an EV can be. But it won't be as good as this.
It won't.
No fucking way.
You know, at least if they can crack through that ceiling and make an example for all the other cars to follow, like let's set the bar. Here's how fun and light it should feel, or maybe how light it will be. I don't know. Then that'll be good.
This was a particularly delicious fucking car. Really, really nice. Video's up. Go check it out. I also have a story about it and the GT3 RS and the GT4 RS in the upcoming print issue of Road and Track, which is going to be fun. And I've already turned it in, which is good. And yeah, I mean, they're going to be hard to get. They're not limited in terms of, it's not like they're making 1,000 and that's it. It's limited by the supply chain. It's limited by just as many as they can make, which is not a ton. But if you can get one, you definitely should. And paint all the carbon because it would look rad. I'll tell you what, since I've lost a little bit of weight, I do a little bit regret not having bucket seats.
Oh, you have the sports seats?
Well, in my car, right. I have the 18 ways, which I still love, is not a problem, but I drove this one with the buckets, and I've lost 2 inches on my waist, and these are like perfect size for me now, and they're nice.
I still think you made the right call.
I think I did too.
And I am slimmer than you, but the amount of time you have spent in your car and will continue to spend in your car, I think those are the right seats to get. Because the buckets are awesome when you're using them for that task, and yes, they do, can hold you in really perfectly. But if you were just if we drove to San Francisco and back, they're not good for that.
No,
and you
they're
want
not
a good
for
everything
getting
car.
in and out of a bunch when you're running errands,
all the things you do with a car. Yeah.
But I was kind of like, ooh, these buckets.
That's how they get you.
I know. They get you when you drive the car for a day.
Right.
You drive the car for 8 hours in one day, and you go, oh, they're all right, actually. Yeah. But not for every day.
How amazing was the McLaren Senna for that day? Incredible.
For
but
one
the
day.
amount of noise coming from everywhere would just be so irritating after 2 days.
Yeah, I'm driving 765 LT to Pebble Beach for the week and around up there, and I'm like, please have comfort seats, please. It won't because it's a McLaren press car, so of course, I hope it at least has not the Senna seats.
Yeah.
I don't need these fucking seats to drive a 7-hour road trip.
They look so cool.
Yeah.
And then you sit in them. And when you get in them, when you're in, they're pretty rad.
Yeah.
But getting in is hard.
Out of them
and comfort. If you don't fit them perfectly, the carbon doesn't move.
No. Yeah. And they leave bruises on my thighs from climbing over them.
It's like when Jensen told us that the Singer seats don't really fold forward. And I mean, they lean a little bit, but they're all the bolstering's in the way. And on photos, you're like, this is the greatest looking seat I've ever seen. Yeah. And it leans, fantastic. It actually doesn't.
Yeah. It's like seeing a Panerai on Instagram. You go, oh, I want that. And then you put it on and you go, I do not want that.
Was it gigantic?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge fucking Nazi watch.
Is that who owns it?
No, Panerai. It was what the Mussolini's fucking diving team was using in World War II. And then, Schwarzenegger and Stallone made it popular again in the late 90s. And then they were at the forefront of the big watch craze of the early 2000s. And they're giant. And they look really cool on somebody else. But then when you wear them, it's like carrying a fucking boat anchor around.
Like Christian has one, right?
Yes.
And he has the wrist size that looks... You can't have a smaller wrist than he has.
Right. Yeah. So, if you try and wear one with under a 7.5 inch wrist, it looks ridiculous.
I'd have to take so much HGH to pull that watch off.
Yeah. Oh,
like
I did a photo shoot. I did a photo shoot with the Lotus guys for my new watch.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I shouldn't be modeling watches.
Should
the arm hair is not good. It's not when they get in tight and they're showing the watch. We should have hired a model.
I hope this makes you feel better. I have never seen anyone modeling a watch and gone, they look natural right there.
You know who can model
all the
a watch?
Breitling
Like Adam Levine
stuff.
From Maroon 5.
Yeah.
You gotta have fit arms, no arm hair, and a tattoo that ends at your knuckles. If you have the full sleeve that goes onto the hand, then you can model watches.
I think if someone takes a candid photo of you wearing a watch, you might look cool. And maybe if it's just a shot of your hand.
Up close with studio lights and contrast, because it makes the fucking Habibi spec look extra Extra.
It's like with someone like, hairy-chested dudes, they wear the shirt open with the gold in there, and they want you to see everything.
Yeah.
They have a confidence.
Yeah.
Here's a shot.
And so we did some shots of me in long sleeves, and then there's some shots of me in short sleeves. And I basically said, see the one in the middle there? Yeah, down one. Oh. See, he's got that. Then that works. That works all right. But you can't. You gotta have the tattoo going with the.
I mean, we're not sponsored by Manscaped right now, but we could be, and we could shave your arms, dude.
I told the Notice guys, I was like, every one of these pictures where I'm wearing short sleeves, fucking garbage. The leather jacket ones, they're okay, because that really gets you right to about an inch, and it's fine. But like. Next week,
Lumberjack Magazine. They'll do well.
When is this show going to go up? Is this Thursday's tomorrow show?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Next week, guys, I will have the pre-order link for patrons. We'll have a post about it, but patrons will get to pre-order the watch next week.
Nice.
And it probably will not make it past the patrons. So if you want a shot, there's no time limit, meaning like it's not. You didn't have to be a patron since March or anything. If you sign up for the Patreon now. For champion or pro driver level, you can get it now. Even if you fucking cancel next month, that's how we're doing it.
It's like a Costco membership, man.
It's a little tax.
Get in the door.
Little fucking tax.
50 gallons of eggs, and then cancel your membership.
Yeah, the odds of it making it past the Patreon are very, very small. There's only 100 pieces.
Yeah.
And I've now have 14 friends who want them. So it's actually 86 pieces. Wow. Because they get the link before. If you're my friend in real life and you're listening to this, text me, and you can buy it before anybody else. Because if you're my friend...
You should specify. Text your phone number, not DM you on Instagram.
Yeah, no. You have to be my actual friend with my actual phone number.
Protecting your Instagram
and not
inbox.
like that guy who called the shop before.
That's funny.
We're not going to talk about that.
We're not.
Okay, and we should talk about Emira, right? Should we talk about Emira?
Yeah, we should.
Video's up. Please go watch it. We really that's how we make money. So please watch the video. And that one was particularly expensive because we had two videos due the same day. We had to hire an editor.
And to say, we shot it we went to the Hethel factory, Lotus factory in Hethel, UK. Got to drive on their test track, which was, of course, awesome. But it gave us a rare opportunity of having a closed track, which we don't get to do very often.
Yes.
And while I know that sometimes track videos aren't as relatable to folks, we drove a V6 Emira for 5 days before that. So there's a lot of on-road commentary, I'd say, and content. And context, rather.
In case you don't believe us, there's a podcast of us driving that.
Yeah.
The Emira is... And this didn't, so we drove it on track first for the video, and then we drove it on the road afterwards.
Correct.
Once we were done with the video. So one of the benefits of the podcast is that sometimes we drive cars after the video, and we can say things about them that don't really make it specifically into the video, which is the case here. Both Zach and I had issue with the gearbox on the track. Mm-hmm. There was delays in upshifts, sometimes so long of a delay that you'd hit red line and it would bog when you didn't want it to. You needed more RPM cushion when downshifting. So if the difference between third and fourth gear, say, is 1,200 RPM, you would need 3,000 RPM of cushion to get that gear. You would, whereas a Porsche dual clutch, you only need what you need.
Mm-hmm. It's like trying to rent an apartment. They're like, well, you got to make 3 times
exactly.
monthly rent. You're like, but I have the money for the rent.
Yeah. Yeah, I need first, last, and security.
Yeah. How many Ferraris have you bought before this one?
Right, exactly. Very good. And so those things were frustrating on the track, taking away from what was otherwise a light, tossable, fast, and fun car. Mm-hmm. On the street, those things didn't really come into play. You're not shifting flat-footed at redline. You're not downshifting for every single RPM at threshold braking. At mid-throttle, mid-revs, mid-braking, the gearbox responds pretty well. You know, like it's a good street car is what I think I'm saying. Like if your plan is to drive this thing as a street car in the canyons or commute in it or go on road trips, it's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Like the gearbox doesn't fuck up when you do that.
And something we didn't talk that much about on the track, but we noticed more on the street, was like the turbo whistle. The car has great sounds. A lot of turbo whistle, a little bit of wastegate noise. Like it has a really cool soundtrack to it that didn't really come through. We're going flat out with wind and with helmets on.
Helmets on, windows up.
Yeah. But we drove to dinner with the windows down with no helmets on. We're like, whoa, this has a lot of cool sounds going on.
It's got like crazy tuner car noises.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the comments asked why we didn't talk about tuning it. Because no one's tuned it. I mean, just because this engine can be tuned a certain way in the Mercedes doesn't necessarily mean it can be tuned in the same way in this car. And it would just be kind of, I don't know, speculation, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it would. We have to judge the car based on how it feels when we drive it.
Yeah.
And, we might, if we have knowledge that, if a car gets a refresh, and there's 5 years of that engine being out, and we know that you can do a tune, like on the M340i.
Right.
We know you can put a tune on it and get 100 horsepower. So we could say that and be like, well, if that's what you want to do, that's fun. But this is a new engine for this car.
Yeah.
We don't know how hard it will be to tune, and we also don't know if people want to do that. We're comparing it to the V6 supercharged Emira, which was stock when we drove it as well.
Yeah. If they crank this thing up to 500 horsepower, like has been done in various AMG Mercedes with this engine, it would be a wild ride.
Yeah.
It would be real fast.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe, well, this is again speculation, like maybe you can tune the transmission. But Lotus told us that they weren't allowed to open the transmission or the engine from AMG, but they did get their own transmission controller from Bosch. So they put their own trans tune on there.
Yeah.
Whether that can be changed in the aftermarket, I don't know. I don't even know if that would help or if that would make it unreliable. But as we drove it, I was pretty disappointed because, as of all the reasons you said, like the delays in up and down shifting, regardless of sport mode, track mode.
You can hear them in the video.
Totally.
Yeah.
You can go to the video, you watch me literally pull the paddle and tell you I'm pulling the paddle, and you can hear the RPM change.
Yeah.
And for a car that we had people in the comments, on my Instagram saying, oh, I'm looking forward to this review. I ordered one, and I'm primarily going to use it as a track car. Like that's what they're going in with. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be disappointed, especially when you look at the price compared to a PDK Cayman.
Yeah.
I mean, that transmission will just dump all over this thing.
Yeah, yeah. I would be happy with the V6 stick one as a track car.
Totally.
That's just the one.
Yeah, that car is excellent.
Yeah. Anyway, video's up. Otherwise, it's nice. It's comfortable. It's fast. Yep. It makes cool sounds. It looks great. Mm-hmm. It feels like a modern car, but it is light, and it handles really well, and it rides really well, and it does a lot of what you want out of a sports car, except the gearbox doesn't behave at the limit.
We had some people ask why we kept calling it light, because it's the heaviest one in its class when you compare it to Cayman or the Alpine A110.
We've never driven an Alpine.
We've never driven an Alpine, but it is I think it's 700 pounds heavier or something. In my opinion, the Lotus is still light compared to most other sports cars. When you look at Camaro, Mustang, what else is in the class? Like GR86 is close. Like it's fairly light in a world where most cars are getting fairly heavy.
And the way it's set up, from the steering to the suspension and stuff, makes it feel lighter than a Cayman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you didn't have a scale and you drove them back to back, you'd probably think the Lotus was lighter than the Cayman. And I think they're pretty close. They're as close as makes almost no difference. I mean, they're close enough in weight where the amount of fuel in the tank could send it either way.
Lotus, it's 3187. So 3,200 pounds for the 2 liter.
Is that right?
That's what Car and Driver says.
Okay. I don't think they put one on a scale. Does it say est or does it say?
Lotus claims.
Yeah.
So they did not put it on a scale.
All right.
Subframe, all that kind of stuff. And then which Cayman? Oh, it also depends on which Cayman engine.
Cayman S.
Cayman S.
718
PDK.
Cayman S PDK.
718 Cayman S PDK is 3219.
So heavier.
So heavier by,
But the PDK,
20 pounds.
yeah, but that's the difference of the PDK.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like literally, it's like how much gas is in the tank when you weigh it. Like it's as close as makes no difference. If we're talking about 50 pounds, that doesn't matter in a car. Not really. But it's nice. I did like it, and I liked Hethel. I like the people. I like the fact that they are very proud of their product up there.
They are.
Yeah.
And we got tons of thumbs up and looks when we were driving that thing all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like it gets supercar cred and attention, but when we can park it in a normal place.
Yeah.
Because it's the right
and
size.
You're not a shitbag. It's like it stops short of shitbaggery. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It looks a lot like a McLaren Artura.
Yeah, it does.
It's pretty fucking close.
It looks awesome.
Yeah. Neat car. Go watch our video, please. Do you have anything else? We have a lot of questions built up.
Many.
I don't have a whole lot else in my personal life. Shout out to Vredestein. They sent me some new tires for the Mach-E. I wanted to try the Mach-E. We probably had, it came with Michelin Primacies, which are the EV tire. And the car has 23,000 miles on it. The tires probably had like 3,000 miles left. Like they're kind of getting there. And it's at the point where like I could have left them because the lease is up in April. So like I could have really run them bald, but I ran the risk of them being like, you have to replace these. And then I'd be paying for tires for somebody else. So I thought, let me try to get some new tires before winter. Like, because if it rains or if
Totally.
and then at least if I put new tires on now, I'll get 6-8 months out of them myself before I have to turn the car in. So I asked Vredestein if they had an EV tire that was good, and Roger over there said that he put these. I think they're called Hitrac, Hitrac. He put them on his Ioniq 5. And he was like, the grip is like amazing. I was like, I don't need grip, Roger. I was like, I want them to be real quiet and comfortable because this car is not a Canyon car. And so, is it Hitrac? Is that what it's called? Hitrac, yeah. Most comfortable tire for family vehicles. Now we're talking. Great wet performance, good balance across other parameters. So that's what we've got. They installed them today. Shout out to Zip Tire for coming and doing tires here at the shop. And I will report back on them. And I'll do not anytime soon, but like in March before I turn the car back, I'll do the 3-year wrap-up review of the Mach-E, and we'll talk about these tires.
How many miles do you put on that car per year? Have you been averaging?
Well, we got it in April, first week of April 2021. So we've had it 2 years and May, June, July, August. 2 and a third. 2 and a third years. It's like
1 and a third. Right?
22, 23,
Oh, yeah.
2 and a third. So it's like 9,000 miles a year. So it's like not a ton.
Not a ton, but if you only had 3,000 miles left on your tires, you would have gone through that.
Yeah, we would probably need new tires right at the end of the lease.
Yeah.
And I don't want my wife driving around on shitty bald tires. So but it's a 336 lease, but we will not get there. No fucking. We might have to do a massive road trip because they're free miles. Just like
Niagara Falls?
Yeah, dude, from LA. It's like 100 charging stops.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to the Patreon. We've got a whole lot of shit to cover. And, of course, if you want to ask questions, patreon.com/thesmokingtirepodcast. Get the show ahead of time. No ads. Ask us questions. Get my watch. You know the deal. Specialnesses. You are a VI motherfucking P. Okay. Daxa says, as performance engines get smaller for emissions reasons, why has no car manufacturer followed Aprilia, Ducati, Yamaha, and Honda and made a tiny performance V4 engine? Their emissions numbers are great. Ducati has a 1-liter engine that makes 270 horsepower and a 1.3 that makes 250. They sound incredible and are tiny. Slap a turbo and hybrid on there, and I don't think anyone would complain. Those motors need to like rev real high. I don't think that's what people are looking for in their cars. I mean, for one, I don't know. I mean, it's not a terrible idea, but I think the packaging of an inline 4 in the context of a car makes more sense than a V4.
Yes.
And I think the small turbos on an inline 4 makes up for the lack of a V configuration. V4s aren't as like smooth as inline 4s.
Yeah, and I'm reading this as we talk about it, but the 60-degree V4 design does not have perfect primary balance. So I think that's another thing. I mean, inline 4s are also not perfectly balanced like inline 6s are, but I think they are more balanced. Like any inline engine tends to be more balanced than a V engine. I'm sure there's exceptions. Please don't yell at me. But like you said, the packaging, an inline 4 engine is an incredibly compact power plant. It's literally one line of pistons. Yeah. Now you're going to literally split that up and take up more space, which encroaches on storage compartment, passenger compartment, all kinds of things.
Right. And I think it's, and especially because like a motorcycle is narrow and long. Mm-hmm. So a V4 is roughly the width of a motorcycle, gas tank. And it's also kind of long, right? Mm-hmm. But if you put that into a car, you'd have to run a longitudinal configuration. If you put that in a car, it lengthens the engine compartment, but it doesn't use valuable width. Like the shape of an engine compartment in most cars better fits an inline 4.
It would allow you to make a narrower car, but no one's asking for that.
Right.
Yeah.
And like if you were going to do a 4-cylinder engine that was not an inline, Subaru, their Boxer engine is better because it has a lower center of gravity. You know what I mean? A flat 4 is better than a V4.
Yeah, true.
Because a V4, yeah, right. I think that's why. Ted Theo Logan says, I visited Watkins Glen and Road America. I'm thinking of road tripping to Laguna Seca from Minnesota in early May for IMSA weekend. Is it a fun track to visit as a spectator or just fun to drive? Great place to watch a race.
Yeah.
Not only is Monterey a great town to visit, but Laguna, being on such a big hill, has so many great places to watch from. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great spectator track and good camping if you wanted to camp there.
And there's a lot of spectator areas that feel isolated from other areas, so I think they feel special. Whereas some tracks, there's 1 or 2 viewing areas, and you can see like half the track. You can go to the camping spots. You can go to of course, the corkscrew is really famous. You can go to like turn 6, which I like. There's so many different kinds of turn there.
Right.
And camping there is a very cool special experience. I recommend it.
Right. David says, my father's in East Asia on business, and he's being chauffeured around in can you see what that is? A Toyota Alphard Royal Lounge. Sounds dope.
I believe it's a van.
It's a van. He says that as a passenger, it's as good a luxury experience as his Mercedes S560. Why do you guys think the ultra-luxury van market never caught on here in America? I disagree with the premise. I think there's luxury Sprinter vans all over my city and all over Miami, all over New York. When I see celebrities being driven around and stuff, it's almost always in a tricked out Sprinter van. We had Josh Altman, fucking heavy hitter real estate guy, talking about being driven around in a Sprinter.
But he had spent a lot of time in S classes and large sedans, and then he changed to the Sprinter, and he liked it a lot more. Yeah. But it took him a while to make that change too.
Yeah. I don't think that a lot of luxury buyers in America will accept Toyota vans because they're not
a luxury
seen
brand,
as luxury and premium. Look at that look at the grill on that thing. Jesus Christ.
No, but look at the seats.
But a Mercedes-based van, a Sprinter, is very, very popular as luxury transport here. Yeah.
I think it's just a cultural thing. I mean, when we went to, was it Tahiti? Like, vans seem to be more common as cabs in different places we've been to. And I think we got like kind of luxury transport in Tahiti. I did the same thing in Mexico, and it's just for some reason in America, like we look at minivans and now we can't disassociate that when we see a luxury van. So that's why it takes a little while.
Yeah. I love a luxury van.
They're so much easier to get in and out of and sit up right in. Oh, man.
Bad Gardener, why aren't speed cameras more common? Though I don't really want them, they'd be effective. Are they just politically unpopular? In almost every case in America where they've used them, the government has farmed them out to some third-party company, because we fucking suck here, and the third-party company has found a way to do something shady to increase revenue, like be in cahoots with the city and shorten the length of the yellow lights, make the yellows shorter so more people are getting tickets, and just there's been a lot of problems with them because of A, corrupt local governments, and B, third-party contracting companies. And I also think they're politically unpopular. I think people don't like the idea of cameras watching them, and they go, if you're gonna find me for this, you got to catch me, you know?
Yeah, I think it depends on also the city or state or county on what the laws are regarding can the government just install them or do they have to get the citizens to vote for it? And a lot of times with things here, like the cost is shared, or sometimes the city foots the bill for something. And so then we go, well, do the taxpayers want to pay the money to have these installed? So that's why. Did you see the story about the, there's all these cameras in London that are supposed to film cars, and if they see a car that is, quote, like a high polluting vehicle, they'll send it a fine. And if the person doesn't pay the fine, then the fine increases to like $300. Some group is going around and disabling them, and they've disabled 1,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because they're just really upset about this whole thing of these cameras that just, photograph or videograph cars and go, oh, that one's not supposed to be here. That one's to get the consumption tax, et cetera, et cetera. And so they don't like it, so they're just destroying them.
That's funny. I actually agree with the cameras in that case. I mean, but I understand. I also understand why people don't want to feel like Big Brother is watching them as they tweet that from their cell phone, in which they're being watched. I mean, on the other hand,
there's so many both sides. Some of the comments were like, great, our politicians are allowed to fly around on private jets. Like in the UK, they voted for that tax for businesses and certain people. Their private jet travel is not taxed, but commercial travel is.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's like, so my car driving around London is causing all of this pollution, but
that's
not
crazy.
these planes.
No, that's crazy.
So that's why it's a little unfair. There's always a lot of layers to the issue.
Yeah, sure. The politicians should not get special exemptions from that kind of stuff. But after a couple weeks driving around in Europe, I think the cameras are a better system. I do. I know it's not going to be culturally popular with our audience, but I think that's a better system. It reduces interactions with the police on the highway. The traffic was moving nicely. The speed limits are variable depending on the conditions and stuff like that.
In some countries, right?
In Germany for sure. Yeah. Connected cars and it's you don't have fucking cops shooting people on the side of the road.
True. I think, but to go back to what you said earlier, it depends on if the implementation is perfect or if it's corrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't necessarily comment on the implementation of it in the other country, except I'm pretty sure it's not farmed out to some third-party for-profit company. I'm pretty sure it's the actual government doing it. God, Noah, I respect your question, but Jesus, is it boring? SUV comfortable and SUV that's comfortable and reliable, fits 4 adults, $50,000 budget. That's like a Toyota Highlander. That's what you should get.
They're great.
Yeah, I would say get a Toyota Highlander. That I'd pretty much stop there.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. There's a lot of words here on Solitary Heroes questions. I got my 84 Targa in April this year. Can't stay away from it or out of it. Since April, my 997 Cabriolet has sat inside the garage covered undriven, as has my Panamera S, which is my winter car. Both are on a battery tender. How long can these two cars sit without getting the fluids up to temp and the tires rolling before long-term disuse issues lay a hand on them? Here at Westside Collector Car Storage, we start and warm up every car in the place up to operating temperature once a month. If those cars are going to sit for months, I would strongly recommend taking them out, getting them up to temperature, buying a bottle of fuel stabilizer, putting it in, filling up the tank, running it for at least 10 or 15 minutes after that, and at least parking it with fuel stabilizer in it, at least. Battery tenders your battery could still die in about 2 or 3 years, even if it's on a battery tender.
What if this person starts the car once a month? And
I would
just
recommend
idle?
starting it, and that's not as good as driving it, but it's better than nothing.
But it's better if they do that. Can they skip the fuel stabilizer side of things?
No, I wouldn't, because it'll still take you 3 years to go through that fuel tank at that level.
True.
Yeah, I would find 15 to 20 minutes once a month to warm them up to operating temperature. We answered Gunner's question. Michael Cosgrove says, based on the outcome of the Corvette raffle, will we do another project car raffle in the future? I'd like to. There were some things that did not go our way during the Corvette raffle that was not nearly, there wasn't our fault, honestly, straight up, not our fault. And we spoke with the people behind it about the things that we would need to change in order to do another one, and they agreed with us. They heard us out, and it seems like that they were willing to make those changes. And so I hope that we do get to do another one, because in a perfect world, they are fun. Okay. Gabe says, looking for a new daily. I've driven a GR86 for 16 months, but I want more refinement, a nicer interior, better stereo. Would still like a manual and engaging dynamics. $40,000 budget, LSD in the rear.
Get a used M2.
Yeah, it's right there. Last sentence.
Oh.
Older M2. Yeah, that's a good one. Mustang GT would be fun. A manual gearbox that limits
Camaro, Mustang GT.
a Z, but you don't, for $40K you don't get LSD with the base car. You need to get the Sport for that.
Or you have to go with the 370, which
no.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a GTI with a manual, but it's not going to have an LSD in the rear because it's front-wheel drive.
Snow tires. Yeah, I would get a used M2. Get a first-gen M2 manual. It'll have everything you want.
Yeah, probably that. Josh J. Says, do you find a wide range in how well radar cruise systems work from car to car? Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not always related to...
price.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some very expensive cars do a not so good job, and some very affordable cars do a very good job. Yeah. Chris Thibault, have I driven anything that gave me the same feeling as the Hennessy Venom GT? That was pretty good.
It's pretty special because it's one of the most powerful cars you've ever driven, and it was also rear-wheel drive manual, and it had no roof.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with that car.
Yeah.
I mean, I've driven... that car was a much better car than most people gave it credit for. It drove really, really good. The fact that they used a 4GT gearbox made a big difference. Those are $35,000 transmissions. I mean, there's been some, some other stuff like the BBI GT2,
Swan?
Yeah, the Swan thing with the sequential and, just crazy amounts of boost. That was pretty nasty. It wasn't the same level of fear, but the Gunther Works stuff is really great. The roof Yellowbird was really great. Nothing that was like that fast, but other stuff that I've enjoyed for other. Nobody needs to go that fast for any reason ever.
Well, that's a rare intersection of driver engagement and horsepower. Like the Koenigsegg that you drove, similar horsepower, but not a manual transmission, closed roof, like more refined, let's say, in some ways, traction systems, whatnot. So
Koenigsegg's are amazing, but shifting yourself in an open top car that has that much power is pretty fucking epic. And then he says, Zach, you said in the review of a 2007 C6 Z06 that the C7 wouldn't age well. Now that the C8 is out, has your opinion changed?
I still think the exterior of the C7, it's just not for me. I think the C6 is still a better looking car. It's just simpler. But I think the interior of the C7 is such a huge step from the C6. And after driving our Project C6, I have a new appreciation for that C7. Like, it's an excellent car. Just aesthetically, it's not my taste for, decades and decades.
Derek says, I've got a buddy with a beat E36 M3, needs a lot of work. It needs, and then lists off everything. Considering selling the car as it's too much of an uphill battle, should he sell it as is and take the L, fix the basics and sell, or fix it up and keep praying that the E36 M3 market goes up in value to recuperate? Well, if the car's beat, then the market ain't going up for that.
Yeah.
Not enough. I think if he's done with the car, just get rid of it.
I think, if he can get it, because you say he's working on it in an apartment, I empathize that is really challenging. If it's close to running, I would put the effort in and do that, because it's way easier to sell a car and I think you'll make more money just from getting it running than selling a non-running car. But if that hill is huge, then you just take the loss. Fixing it and all the way and keeping and hoping that it's going to go up in value, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. Aiden wants to know about my NSX, but I don't have answers to the questions because I've driven it twice. And I'm going to drive it more after Pebble Beach, but because I like the travel and it was scheduled for a major service, which it's just got, it was on very old tires. I just didn't want, it hadn't had a service for 9 years. So I didn't want to drive it until it got those things. So it now has those things and I can start driving it. It just got flatbedded from evasive to 405 motoring for paint protection film. So I hope they'll be done by Monday so I can pick it up before I go to Pebble, but something tells me it won't be. And so I'll drive it when I get back, but I haven't driven it yet. Siamese sports cat enthusiast. What non-enthusiast cars are more fun and better driving than they really need to be? Most 1990s Hondas would foot the bill. Anything more modern come to mind? The Corolla XRS, which is Corolla that has the Elise engine in it.
ZZ.
2ZZ. Yeah, that's a fantastic little car. Hondas, especially ones that are tuned up from the 90s. Those are really fun.
Well, it's hard because you can look at what was turned into a race car because it was cheap. Not even just a Civic Si, like a basic Civic. Those are racing all the time because they're fundamentally pretty good. And that's why I think they fit that bill. Non-enthusiast cheap.
Like not Integras, old Acura Legends are pretty good actually. 80s Acura Legends are surprisingly good.
LS400.
I don't know if they're fun, but they're good.
There's one with pipes on it that parks near me in Santa Monica, and he also follows me out of a parking garage so he doesn't have to pay. Respect.
My homie just bought a 95 or 6 Lexus LS with 20,000 miles on it. It's so nice.
Jeez.
It's fucking so mint. Bought it in Ohio and drove it back to New Orleans and said it was like the best drive ever. The car is fucking super mint. All the pizza in my belly says, is there a point at which it's a better idea from an enjoyment and safety standpoint for someone who enjoys HPDE track days to move into an actual Oh, okay. Like build a race car instead of continually upgrading a street legal car. And if so, is used Miata Cup the answer? I mean, yeah. If you go to a lot of track days a year, a race car, and not even necessarily a cup car, like a Radical or something, like a car that was designed from the ground up to never be on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this person's Miata Cup budget is probably a lot less than how much is a Radical, like a used one?
50 grand, maybe.
Yeah, I think you could probably still get a used beat Cup for like 10 to 20.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you really want to be cheap, like use Miata, but you could also get like a spec. Bert bought Tom the nicest spec E36 that money could buy, and it was 45 grand.
46, right?
46 grand. Whatever.
No, E46.
What did I say?
You said 36.
Oh, E46. E46, and it was 45 grand. Wow. But now you need a trailer or somewhere at the track to keep it. There's other considerations, but it'll have a cage. And crashing with a cage is, if you're doing lots of HPDE days, you like a cage.
And I think it will level up their driving because you're no longer afraid of damaging your street car, whether it's you're afraid of damaging the engine or crashing it or bumping into somebody. That will be removed, and then you can drive a little bit harder.
Right. And
you could also start racing. You could wheel-to-wheel race, which you don't want to do with your street legal car that you have to drive and pay for and insure.
Right. Jack Riley says, what's the best experience you've had with press credentials? Have you ever gotten in somewhere you should not have been but were anyway?
I mean, so many press events are like that.
It's actually funny, though, because press credentials are good, not great. I mean, they're good because you get in places, but you don't get the best access. Like when I went, for instance, when you go to Pebble Beach and stuff like that, you get in, but you don't get any hospitality. You don't get any, the really good shit. Well, compared to being like a baller guest.
There are, I'd say some events, press credentials can be special enough to get you next to the rich people.
Right.
But some events, they don't. At Goodwood, Festival of Speed, we had amazing credentials. We got access to lots of things, but there were restaurants and tiers that we did not have access to.
But our credential, we didn't have press passes at Goodwood. Lotus bought us tickets. We had straight up tickets.
Oh, I thought we had partner passes.
Well, that's a ticket that Lotus got access to because they were a sponsor.
Oh, gotcha.
So they had tickets that they could hand out to their people.
I retract.
Yeah, we didn't have the guys in the photo vests had press passes. We didn't have that. So press passes get you into the event and can usually get you places that it would be good to take photographs. But it doesn't get you the baller hospitality that the really rich people get.
Someone said they were at the Coda F1 event with press credentials, but they had to watch the race from a tent on a TV. Whereas they didn't get the box above the track. Yeah, because those passes are sold for thousands and tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. And at Pebble Beach, when I wanted to go to the Gooding auction, I got a press pass. But then and you can get in, but the press passes, you're at the back. The next year, I got bidders passes with my old man. And we jumped through the hoop to get the bidders pass. Now it's open bar. Now you're up front. So it's great that you can get into these events without paying because you're there to earn a living with the media coverage. You're not there as just a spectator. And if you're media, you probably shouldn't be open bar anyway because you're supposed to be working. But
I think the flip side, though, is that sometimes we get access to people or areas that you can't buy tickets for.
Sure.
There's been times at SEMA, we're hanging out with the Hoonigan people, we get behind their rope, and we're just hanging out with them. And there's no SEMA ticket you could pay for for any price that will allow you to just go and hang out with those folks. But sometimes you get press access to that stuff. Or you going on the 9/11 Dakar thing. Someone could pay for
going
that trip.
On a press launch.
Yeah.
That's not just a press credential that gets you into some other kind of event.
That's true.
A press launch in an exotic place is way better than a press credential to an event that you could otherwise buy a ticket to.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not good to be media.
No, you're right. There's a different
shit,
definition.
But I don't know if the question implied press launches or regular events, but I can't point to one experience that I've had that stood out and I was only there because I had a press credential.
Meaning no other person could have gotten access to that place.
Yeah. Like
I don't have to think
in an absolute best case scenario, I've been in a place where people could have paid a lot of money to be there, but it's very rare that I'm somewhere where like no one can be.
Outside of a launch or some sort of like coordinated press event. Yeah, that's true.
Thomas Hawes said, would you be able to run the numbers on your exotics, including services and repairs? No. My fucking bank account, bro. I'm not talking about that shit. How does it, after using the spreadsheet numbers the last time on the R&T, the marketplace cars from the 60s, I'm wondering how it translates to your own experiences using today's info. Well, I haven't had those cars long enough for like inflation to be a thing, really.
True.
I mean, maybe, I guess, but like...
well, I don't know. How long Countach, you've had it 5 years?
5, yeah.
I mean, there has been inflation, obviously, since then. It's been fairly aggressive, but not... I mean, the figures he's referring to was last week when we talked about
cars from the 60s. Yeah.
So it's not exactly apples to apples, and I'm guessing you paid more for your Countach than if you had bought it 10 years after they came out.
Right.
When did they bottom? 90s?
Early 2000s, early mid 2000s. So like, when the Diablos got really good and were still all stick shift, that was still an analog experience. So like Diablo 6.0 era.
And Mercy manuals were
manuals were still the thing. Like, yeah. So it was like, that was when it was pretty low priority to be in a Countach. Yeah. All right. Wow. So many fucking rude words from Scooter. Oh, the guy with the hail damaged Fiesta ST. We're looking for something unique and impractical for weekend and cruising days. We've been considering everything from a Pinzgauer to a Corrado. Oh, this is going to be an easy one. All the world's a stage, bro. We seem to agree the most on getting a rat rod. Okay.
Awesome. Yes. Do that. Get a tetanus shot.
Matt, as the owner of a POW and a Delica, what are your feelings on a different kind of fizz that isn't performance-based? Do either of you have input on what cars your wife and fiance actually enjoy riding around in versus what they think they'll like?
I mean, Sarah loved that Morgan we had, the press car.
Women love that car.
Yeah.
That's classy.
Yeah, that's motoring. It's fun.
I can't recommend a Morgan highly enough. The POW and the Delica, I mean, the Delica we don't use it very much. It's a good thing. It costs 7 pennies to own. So I bought it very cheap. It literally is a negative insurance premium. The insurance company pays me to insure that car, $85 a year. It's a multi-vehicle discount thing, and compared to my other cars. So it cost. I just had the annual service done. It was $135. So like that car costs me nothing. So even if I drive it, and for like a year it was Hannah's only car, and before we got the Ford, she was working at home and it was her only car. Then we got the Ford. Okay, it became sort of a little shop run-around van, but now it does a lot of sitting, which is fine because when we need a vehicle that holds 6 people for something, the 3 times a year we need that, it's very, very useful. The POW, Hannah loves and drives it a lot. It's 55 horsepower. So like, it's like someone called it a brunch car, and I think that's it's the perfect explanation for that car. Mm-hmm. You can't be in a rush to go anywhere. You don't really want to go on the highway with it very much, but to like, excuse me, putter around the neighborhood, it's got a lot of charm. It's not exciting at all. It's cute. And so Hannah loves it. She loves the design. She loves the feel of the blinkers. She loves the aesthetic of it, and people give her, and she likes that. But there's no fizz. It's literally like driving like the shittiest shitbox Japanese junk. It's a 1 liter nothing. So, like, do I have input on what Hannah likes? Like, no, she can like whatever she likes, and she doesn't like what she doesn't like. And she mentioned a POW a few times, and so I was able to buy her one for her birthday, and she loves it, and that like worked out. And she likes my sports cars enough to put up with them. She doesn't really have much of an opinion either way. But you know, if you have to go like do real driving, like outside of a city, I definitely don't recommend the POW. I don't really know what the question is.
I think if they both already like rat rods, then yeah, get that for a year. You could always sell it probably for what you bought it for, and it's gonna have, like, the POW is charming. You know, my Sarah's favorite car is like a '67 GT350. But that's a different experience than the POW, and it's a different experience than a rat rod. Rat rod's going to drive like shit. It'll be very fun and exciting, and it'll make a huge statement every time you pull up anywhere. So, like, just figure out what you both like and just get that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's going to, I don't know, we can't advise them on what they like.
Yeah. Last question, and then I'm calling the game because I have had a long, hot day, and I am tired, and I don't want to. I want to give you guys good energy, but okay. Well, we'll go to Michael Cosgroves. He wants to talk about the Emira, so we can address that. I enjoyed the Emira video, but can you better contextualize your comments about it being small and lightweight? It's both heavier and wider than a Cayman GTS 4.0, which is somewhat disappointing considering the Emira is a two-seater and an evolution of the ultralight Lotus Elise. Well, there's a few little bits here. I don't know that it's heavier than a Cayman GTS 4.0, as we discussed earlier. I think if you put the Emira versus the GTS PDK, which is the competitor, I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, Edmund says that a 2022 718 GTS 4.0 is 3,166 pounds. So it's like, I'm just bringing it back up, like they're like the same.
It's like the same. The amount of gas in the tank is comes into play, and if it's wider, did we make any comments about it being small? I don't know if we said small.
I don't think we.
I think he might have made up that we said small, and if that's true. I don't remember saying small anywhere in the video, but the cockpit is definitely smaller than a Cayman's. The cockpit of a Cayman feels roomier. The seats are further apart. There's a bigger center console.
The center console in the Emira is pretty narrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's seriously like 3 inches across. And then the sills to get in are pretty wide.
Yeah.
So you are sitting pretty center seat, which is good for dynamics, but
Yeah.
you know, it's not as roomy.
Yeah. And being an evolution of the Elise, I don't think comes into play. They can't build an Elise today. There's no safety
I've only driven
features.
one Elise, but it feels like someone built a car and then took a bunch of things out of it,
Yeah.
like afterwards, and they're like, "Oh, I got to install those back in." I mean, it's so loud, it's so thin,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's very raw feeling. But this feels like a good, luxurious sports car
Yeah.
that more people would want to drive.
Yeah, we need to come to terms with the fact, as a community, that people don't want to buy a fucking Elise. They don't. They coulda, but they're not.
And they didn't.
They didn't.
Because they sold very few of them.
Yes.
Right.
They didn't when they were here. And Lotus doesn't owe anybody anything by continuing to make an Elise that people don't want to buy.
Yeah.
And there's old Elises all over the place. You can buy them for $40,000.
Yeah.
It's 3,200 pounds in 2024 is light. It's at the lightest end of the sports car spectrum. There are a couple of cars that are slightly lighter. Yes, the 86 is one. It also has half the power. But, I mean, you know, not me and Zach, people have proven over and over and over and over and over and over again with our wallets that we don't really give a fuck about weight. We say we do, but we don't. We'd rather have features.
Mm-hmm.
We'd rather have features. We'd rather have power. We'd rather have a luxury car than a lightweight car. The market has very clearly spoken, and Lotus doesn't owe anybody a car that is so light that it gives up on luxury features.
And to make it, I think to make it lighter than they make it, like there are some things that are required. The subframe sizes are required. Crash standards are required. There's a lot of stuff that you can't take out of this car. You could take out leather. You could take out a little bit of computers. They don't have a ton of them because the screen's really simple. I just don't think there's that much weight to shed in new cars in general, unless, you know, the new Miata's incredibly light, but it makes, like you said, very little power. It's much louder inside. It's not as nice an experience. There's less hardware in general in the engine, and they did shit like drilling holes in the windows. Like, it takes a lot these days to pull a significant amount of weight out of the car. I mean, dude, the 911 ST is, what, 80 kilograms lighter than a GT3 Touring?
That sounds right.
I mean, that's, okay, it's 160 pounds.
Yeah.
It's not hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And it's
like a full carbon body.
And it's full carbon body with thinner. They took weight out of every little thing they could without making the driving experience or like the living experience, I think, really uncomfortable. So it's just the world we live in.
And I don't think we said small. I mean, in the grand scheme of cars, yeah, it's small, but I don't think anywhere in the video where we're like, it's smaller than a Cayman. Like, it's basically the same size as a Cayman.
It says the same size. I'd have to go back to see what I said.
It is roughly the same size as a Cayman. I mean, if it's wider, it's like, you know, we're talking about small bits wider. But all right, you got it.
I was going to see if I could find the width really quick, but it's not.
It doesn't really matter.
Important.
Thank you guys. That's our show. Sorry if I was a little down on energy. I spent 2 hours in the desert in a car with no air conditioning.
It was 102 degrees.
It happens. It happens. Tomorrow I'm going down to BBI Autosport to get my 3,500-mile oil change on my Spyder. So that'll be fun, and I'm going to do a podcast with Batim while I'm down there. And then Saturday at 10 a.m. we got Freddie Tavares Hernandez in studio to do a show. And then I'm going to Pebbles Beach for next week. So Zach and I will have autopilot on while we are both. He's camping and I'm fucking up at car things. Thanks for listening. Thanks to our patrons, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.